Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This video is all about my trip yesterday to the NEC, Gardeners World Live at the NEC in Birmingham. Did I get any plants? Of course I did, we'll have a look at them in a minute. But I did set off yesterday morning a little worried. First was the weather worry. The other worry goes right back to Wednesday. My normal glasses have got two little lugs that sit nicely on your nose, and one's broken off on Wednesday and it's got a sharp point, so it makes it almost impossible to wear those glasses. So I've got my old ones out, and as I set off at 5:45 yesterday morning, I thought, I hope I can see properly in these glasses, because these are obviously not my current prescription. They're the previous one, and obviously the fact that I had new glasses meant that I needed them. But anyway, they were fine. I would suggest that if I had to do the number plate test, I'd probably fail at the maximum distance, but a bit short of that I'd be okay. I could read the road signs well in advance of when I needed to be able to read them. So we didn't do any of those outside lane, right across and up the ramp type dozy people. We didn't have any of that. Anyway, the trip there was uneventful. Bit of traffic on the Oxford Ring Road, but I arrived there at sort of workers' time, people getting to work and getting their kids to school and that. And the problem with that ring road is not the ring road itself, it's the exits and entrances, which can be quite close together, and dopey people in the wrong lane. Despite the fact they probably do it every day. If you're turning off a dual carriageway, get over there in advance. Don't leave it to the last minute and suddenly find there's almost stationary traffic here and you're in this lane and can't get in, so you stop that lane as well. Idiot people. Selfish. Anyway, there was a bit of that going on. I mean, that lasted 10 minutes and then I was out the other side and off again. Bit of a queue where you come off the A34 and get on the M40. That's just roadworks on the roundabout and traffic lights, you know, on a very busy intersection basically. And also one of the other roads that comes off that roundabout, a previous exit on the M40 had been closed and all the traffic had been diverted to there. So that was cogging it up a bit. Once I got on the motorway network, I was off. And I had some queues past Solihull, which is one of the suburbs of Birmingham. That was a bit busy, but not a big deal. No roadworks. No 50-mile-an-hour zones. All the way there. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I obviously had to queue to get in when I got there, and I left a bit earlier than planned on the grounds I was ready, and I thought, why sit around here letting time tick by when that time could be more useful if there's some problems on the journey? So I set off early. I got there, what did I get there? About just after 8:30 to get in at 9 o'clock. Then my hassles started. Nothing's ever easy, is it? Because it was a last minute sort of decision, I didn't get the chance to book a ticket. I thought, that's all right, I'll just pay on the gate, like you do at practically everywhere you go. No, not at the NEC. So I get in the queue, and then I looked and I thought, hang on, there's no card machines, there's no... So I said to one of the sort of security guys, I said, I need to buy a ticket. He said, oh, you can't buy a ticket, it's online only. I said, you mean people come here with money and you're not going to accept it? Well, it's online only here. And then somebody else interrupted him and said, if you need to pay to get in, you've got to go round to the kiosk. Hang on, I'll give you some directions. So basically, if you've ever been to the NEC or had a look at it, it's huge. It's nearly as big as the airport next door. It's huge. And where I was, the main entrance off of the car parks, I had to go the full length of the NEC to get in another gate, and then through all the halls right round to the far corner to where the one kiosk was that you can pay at. I couldn't believe it. And prior to that, I'd got in a queue, everybody queuing up, and I said to one of the guys, "Is it all right to pay in this queue?" He said, "No, no, no, you've got to go round there, right round to the end of this queue and on a bit, and you'll find a little kiosk, and then when you've got your ticket, you come back and get in the queue again." So we had hassles getting in. I almost found it comical that they make it that difficult to pay to get in. Anyway, on top of that, there are people casting aspersions that the NEC admin and people that run the place are becoming a bit of a burden, shall we say, polite version. And the International Orchid Show, and possibly the whole of BBC Gardeners World Live that's held at the NEC, is possibly going to lift up its skirts and go somewhere else because they're fed up with the admin and inefficiency of the way the place is run when you're trying to organise an event like that. So there's rumour that it might be moving to a stately home, to the grounds of a stately home. These are rumours. Come on. Now go on your blanket and go to sleep. That's the 5th time he's been out this morning. And all he does is go and sit out there for a couple of minutes and turns around and comes back in. So I say it's a habit in the morning. It's just how he is. Bit of food, outside, back in. And then eventually, usually when he's had enough food, nothing to do with in and out the door, he then goes to sleep on his blanket. And then later in the morning he comes and goes out again to see if there's a sunny spot he can lie in, and he stays out there for quite a while. But yeah. He was pleased to see me when I got home from 5:45. I got home, when did I get home? About 6 o'clock I think. No, it wasn't that late, 5 o'clock. I left early. Lynn and Helen from the society had left, they left lunchtime. They'd been up there for judging, so they'd been there all the previous day and, you know, came in first thing yesterday. So they left at lunchtime to have a leisurely drive back. And Alan and Sue and some others were around. But Alan and Sue said, "We're not going to stay too long today, we're going to head off sort of 1 o'clock, 1:30. And when they decided to go, I sort of looked around and I thought, I've filmed all I want to film. I can't spend any more on plants. I bought the plants I want. I'm going to go as well. I'd had a nice time, you know, even though I was only there sort of 4.5 hours sort of thing. It's yeah. Silly, isn't it, really? 6 hours driving for 4.5 hours at the event. Anyway, I had a nice time, that's the main thing. Spoke to lots of people, traders and people from other orchid societies, and, you know, there's a few people I was hoping would be there that I only see like at an event like that once a year that weren't. But then it's which day do you go? You know, if you're not going to be there for the whole, whatever it is, 4 days, then obviously you're not going to choose the right day for some people. So unfortunate, but that's how it was. The trader I didn't speak to that I should have done was Trey, because he's coming to do a talk with us in November, I think it is. First of all, I haven't got a title to put on the website. We've got a rough idea what he's going to do, but we haven't actually got a title. And I also want to ask him about what kit he wants. Now you're going to go out again, are you? You're only doing it because I'm talking, aren't you? Go on then. Now, this time you stay out till I've finished. Unless it rains, which now, talking of rain. Threatened thunderstorms. I had to change lanes 3 times on the way up to get 6 spots on the bonnet. Not a light. Nothing. And all through the morning, the hall at the NEC, the big hall, the floral hall, or what's being used as the floral hall, has got a roof that's made of the same sort of plastic as this. And it's sets of square domes. So when you look up, it's lots of squares. And when it rains, you can't hear yourself think. It's so deafening. I've been in there once before when we had a hard shower. And nothing. All morning, right through past lunch, and it started to rain walking back to the car, would you believe? And there's the last saga. All my troubles You know, they do come, don't they? Got to the car. I said to, I was walking back with Alan and Sue, and I said, I forgot to look at the section of the car park I'm actually in. I haven't got a clue where the car is. I'll have to retrace my steps and walk back the way that I walked to get to that entrance. So I said, I know I turned down here, and then we turned into the car park, and I started looking for the car, and Alan and Sue were in that car park as well. They had quite a lot of stuff to load up, so they were messing about there. I searched that car park, I couldn't find the car. So as I got to where Alan and Sue were, which was in like a corner, I said, do you know, I can't find my flipping car. I hope it hasn't been stolen. And then I said, who'd nicked that old thing? It had nothing in it. You know, there's nothing on the seats or anything like that. Oh, I said, I just can't find it. Well, are you sure it was here? I said, I'm pretty sure, yeah. And then Sue said, when you came down the road, were you in the inside lane or the outside lane? Because if you were in the inside lane, you were in this car park. If you were in the outside lane, you'd have gone in the next entrance. So I said, well, I'm pretty sure I was in the inside lane, but I don't specifically remember. Anyway, they had to go because they were going to visit somebody, and I still hadn't found the car. And in the end, I thought, well, it's not in this car park. So I'll go and have a look in the next one along. Perhaps I was in the outside lane. And 10 seconds into the car park, there it was. So I eventually found the car. I had phone calls and all sorts of worries on the way back of people thinking, you know, how am I going to get home if I couldn't find the car? If you can't find your car in a big car park like that, you just have to go and get a coffee somewhere and a cake and sit down and wait for the end of the event for all the cars to leave. Yours will be the one that's left. It's sort of 8 o'clock in the evening. So anyway, we got the car and we set off. And as we set off, the heavens opened and it shut it down for probably the first hour and a half of the journey home, which means it's all slow. The problem you get when it slows up like that is you get the HGVs in the inside lane, and you know what they're like. You get a little convoy of 5 or 6 of them like that, and then the one at the back thinks, I can do 1.5 miles faster than these, an hour faster. I'll pull out and overtake them all. That takes 5 miles. And in the meantime, you've pushed every single car into the outside lane, including the ones who don't want to drive very fast, perhaps a bit worried about the rain and this, that and the other. The whole motorway grinds to a halt because of one selfish HGV. And the spray that they kick up, as you get to a certain point overtaking them, you can't see. It's bloody dangerous, excuse my French. Anyway, I got a phone call from Lynn, and obviously you can't use your phone when you're driving along, but I'm happy for it to sit on the seat, you know, with the speaker on, so it's hands-free sort of thing. So I answered the phone and pressed the wrong button and got the keypad up, and do you think I could shut the flipping thing down to turn the speaker on? So I ended up shouting at it saying, Lynn, I pressed the wrong button, I can't turn the speaker on, you'll have to ring me back. And hung up, sort of thing. So Lynn rang me back and she said, well, obviously you were driving, so you've answered the question I was going to ask anyways. Did you find your car? And she let Sue and Alan know because they were dead worried. You know, they had to go and leave me there without finding the car. So yeah, so a few sagas, and then came off the motorway onto the A34, heading south, straight into the blinding sun. Oh, wonderful. Anyway. Traffic-wise, nothing on the way home. Nice clear run, apart from the real slow move with the rain. There was quite a queue to get off back to that roundabout again with the roadworks on it and the additional traffic because of a closure. It was about a mile and a half queue for that, which was like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. But it was interesting because while I was there, you get to look at the scenery. And the grass verge was absolutely covered in native orchids, mainly pyramid orchids, but there were some common spotteds in amongst the, you know, grass and the daisies and things. Yeah, so I was entertained playing spot the native orchids, which was quite good. I saw some in other places as well, including some in the displays. Right, before we get on to the plants, I want to explain what I'm going to do in tomorrow's video, which I will put together today, I suspect. I might do it first thing tomorrow morning. But I've filmed the Orchid Society displays. I didn't film the traders or any of the other types of plants or anything like that. I just filmed the Orchid Society displays. I think I got them all apart from one that I don't film. And what I thought we'd do is we'd turn it into a little competition. Now, when I film an Orchid Society display, most of the time I film the plaque which says what Orchid Society it is. But I can override that and put a pop-up so that you know which Orchid Society display you're looking at. And in the comments, perhaps we could have a vote. Which one do you think was the best? And then I'll, look through all the comments and everything and work out, which one was the most popular, and then announce it on, when will that be? It's today, Friday, get me days muddled up, so that's tomorrow's video, Saturday. Yeah, I can announce that in what will be a very brief, early in the day Sunday chat, because Hannah's down for the weekend, which I should be able to manage. So yeah, we'll turn the video into a little bit of a competition where you say which Orchid Society display you liked best, and it might be nice to say why. If something looks better than other things, there must be a reason. So we'll have a little play, have a little game in tomorrow's video. Right, I know you want to see the plants. There are 4 of them, but 2 are the same. They're the same because they weren't expensive, and well, I'll show you. Right, I've just got to move some bits because my humidifier's in the way. Ooh. And I'll just move the camera around, that's the easiest way, so that I've got my hands free, which means you will see 2 of the plants straight away. So you can see me unwrapping, and then I'll hold the plants up to the camera anyway so that you get a closer look. Right, so first of all, we've got 2 Deesas. They are the same, and it's actually called, it's a nice name actually, Radiant Rachel. Now, I thought that might be a made-up name, but I've actually checked. It is registered on the RHS, and it's on Orchid Roots with its parentage and everything, if you're interested in looking up. But these were for sale. Alan found these and he came and got me. He said, come on, I found some Deesas for sale. I said, there's nobody, I've already looked round the traders, nobody's selling Deesas. No, this is the carnivorous plants guy from up in Yorkshire. He's right over it. So we had to walk all up the other end. And yes, he had some Deesas. They were nearly all the same one. They were slightly different prices depending on the size of the plant. But Alan and I had quite a long chat with him about how he looks after them and things like that. While we're on Deesas, Alan had a couple of Deesas in the display. The plants were this high. The plant, then the spikes. He got them from the same place at the same time I did. One of the Bournemouth Orchid Society guys also bought some of those at the same place and the same time that we did. And he had some in the display. His looked like mine, pretty manky. But he did have some blooms, which I haven't got yet. So anyway, this is why I chose these 2. I don't want to drip all over everything, and I don't want to hold the tray because it's full of water. Well, why don't you get an empty one then? Ooh, okay. There we go. So you can see the bloom. Very attractive, a nice pink one. And out of the ones that were displayed, on his label, they are all classed as tall pink. But some of the smaller plants, which were quite a lot cheaper, he said, if the plant is only just reached blooming size, you will get a smaller spike and sometimes a slightly smaller bloom, which is what this is. But what it's got is at least one new plant growing, because obviously the one that's bloomed will die. But it's already starting to produce its little babies, so it's going to perpetuate itself quite nicely. Now the other one is in the same boat. It's quite a bit taller and a stronger plant. Now let's get some drips out of the way. But this one has already got at least 3 new plants coming up. So with the one that's already growing there, I've got at least 4 new plants to grow on for next year or the year after. And again, nice deep mid-pink blooms, pink I would say, more coffee. And I'd say medium size as Deesas go. So yes, I didn't expect to come home with Deesas, but while they were there, I took advantage of bringing those home. Now those won't go outside with my others because they're in bloom. They will stay in here in these smaller trays. But the water that's in those trays came out of the rainwater in those big trays. When I got home yesterday, we'd obviously had a lot of rain in the afternoon here, and the Deesa trays were full up again. One of them was overflowing. There was a puddle on the floor. So that's refreshed the water in there with rainwater. This is good stuff. Right, now we can unbag some stuff. Right, so this one came from Spice Exotic, and it's a nice plant, and it's a new Masdevallia. It wasn't expensive. And as I said, it's a nice plant. There's a broken leaf here, but we've got roots and new growths coming all over the place. I haven't lifted it out of the pot yet. We could do that now if it will slide out. Yeah, we've got some nice roots there, and we're not in that horrible cocoa fibre mix, so there will be no rush to repot that. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blooms. I don't see any more buds coming at the moment, but doesn't mean to say there aren't any. Unless that's a broken one, there is one down there. But it's a nice plant. It's got quite a few sections where new growths are coming out, and as I say, it's a nice bloom. It's what I call a typical Masdevallia bloom. It's the typical evenly spaced kite shape, where the 3 elements of it are roughly the same size. It's a nice open bloom rather than one of those tunnel type ones, and it's got 3 tails that are spread out nicely. So, and it's a lovely deep yellow, so very pleased with that, very pleased. So that was that. Now on their display they had an Oncidium that I made inquiries about. The 2 plants they had on the display were already sold. Somebody bought them before the public were allowed in, so obviously some of the Orchid Society people grabbed those. Zuza said she has ordered some more. They won't be in for about a month or so, and by the time they arrive with her, the blooms will have gone over, so they won't be in bloom. Like an idiot, I didn't write down the name, did I? But they are dancing lady type blooms, quite large, and half of them are black and the other half is vibrant yellow. They are stunning blooms, so I will try and get one, but it won't be soon and it won't be in bloom. But if they're coming across having finished blooming, they should come into growth, so at which point we can repot if we have to. So that will be good. And then the last one, let's have a bit more coffee. The last one came from Birmingham's, and it's not one of theirs, I did ask. It's one that's been, imported across from the EU, bought in, not one of theirs that's been grown on from seed, because they do have some of those. My Vexillaria that's currently in bud, that's one that Birmingham's have produced themselves. So that's gone through seed and through the laboratory and been grown on. But we've got another Miltoniopsis, no ID, just a hybrid. It's not a very good plant, but it was cheap, and I suspect it will produce a new growth in the not too distant future, and that will produce some new roots. So we should be able to get this to grow, providing it survives long enough to actually get that new growth going. But it's not a good plant. It's got two back bulbs. They're quite plump. Sorry, I'm not on the camera. Two back bulbs, quite plump, but leafless. And then it's just got the one bulb that's got two spikes. So that's draining that plant quite a bit. But it's obviously found enough strength to actually produce the blooms. Blooms are absolutely gorgeous. They are fragrant as well, slightly, not massively. But yeah, so I was well pleased with that. So that bumps up the Miltoniopsis collection by another one. And until they start failing like they did at the other place, I will probably every now and again keep adding to that collection, because I really like Miltoniopsis. I always have. I just haven't been able to grow them in the past because it was too hot for them. Or too hot and too bright, really. So that's what I got. A hybrid Miltoniopsis, no ID. Less than £20, we like that. We got a Masdevallia hybrid, a nice plant, nice mature plant with blooms on, £20. And then the two Disas, I think one was 18 and the other was 20, I think, something like that. So I didn't spend a lot on each plant, but the overall day cost quite a lot of money, and thanks to all those people who contributed, donations came in quite a few shapes and forms that made the day feel easier for me, especially as I had to pay full price to get in. I should have got a discount for the amount of walking I had to do to get to the flipping ticket kiosk. What a route march that was. Which, if I'd got myself a better organised, I'd have had an e-ticket and I could have just walked in with the rest of the people. So that's what we came home with. I'm pleased with the plants, and well, at least we've got some decent blooms this year, even if they're not mine. And I have seen a couple of Alan's Disas now, so I've seen what he meant by mine are up here, because they are, they are really big plants with leaves going right up the flower stem, and then the flower stem coming out the top. They're literally really good sized plants, and they look spotless, no marks on the leaves or anything. So I will try one day to follow in his footsteps, but at the moment my Disas are not doing that well. Hopefully now they're outside and getting rainwater and rained on, and the light levels out there, hopefully now they will at least, even if the plants that I've got, the more mature ones, don't flower, hopefully they will produce new plants that can be potted up in new media at the end of the season. We'll see how we go. And we'll have the little plants being produced now. These are being produced in the middle of June. They will grow until the end of October. So they should be reasonable sized plants, hopefully with a little bulb on the end, little stolon I think they're called. So they can be potted up either in little community pots or separately. Decision not made yet. So there we go, and as I say, tomorrow's video will be the Orchid Society displays at Gardeners World Live NEC. And we'll have a little game where you can choose your favourite, and say why, and then I'll put them in the order of choice. There's one display that won't be very easy, because it's 3 Orchid Societies in one display, so I'll explain that in the video. So it'd be difficult to do that. That includes ours, the Wessex one, because we don't do a full display. Anyway, so that's today's video. Thanks for all the people who watched the channel and everything, and thanks a lot for the contributions to the day out and the new plants yesterday. It's greatly appreciated. Don't underestimate my thanks, it is appreciated. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.